Welcome to God Talk. This is Pastor Dan Smith. If you're new to our show, we haven't been going very long. We're into about the second month, but I am loving this chance. I thank you for the beautiful set they've given me here at LOBN. I've done 100 shows with another show called Flame of Truth and another 100-some shows with GPS on Revelation. But they're giving me this chance to be part of God Talk, and this just is what I am. I love preaching and talking about God. I hope as these begin to air, you'll begin to respond, and we'll have a way to respond by email, and we can eventually maybe preach to answer certain questions people have. I hope someday to have another little book on God Talk about some of the hard questions about God. So anyway, here we are. Let's roll. Here's a message that I love to give around the world as I speak in colleges or weeks of prayer, evangelism about God. I usually start with a little crazy story. I read this in a book by Dan Rather. Dan Rather was in the television business and CBS for, his whole life, I guess. And he told about being in a radio station when he was in college in Texas. And they had a little one-man radio station. You know, we have a studio here. There's someone in the back. He was like that. He was the guy in the back putting on a record back in the day of records. Well, he was there by himself for 8 hours. And so if you wanted something to eat, you had to put on a long, what do you call it, 30-minute record, go get something to eat, and then come back and be there in time. So one day he put on a Baptist fire and brimstone preacher sermon, jumped in the car, went to get a sandwich, came back, the owner's car is in the driveway. And the owner comes out and says, "Where'd you go?" He said, "Went to get a sandwich." He said, "What happened?" He said, "The record had a scratch in it. And somehow that record had gotten stuck in this little groove. And this Baptist preacher had been shouting out over the hills of Texas, 'Go to hell, go to hell, go to hell.'" Too good to be true. Nobody wants to go to hell. Everybody wants to be saved. Every religion in the world pretty well has a hell of some form or another. And everyone wants to know, how will you avoid going to hell? I have spent much of my adult life wrestling with the hard questions about God. This is God Talk. Of course, we talk about the fire. Is God the kind of God who will burn people? Almost every religion has some form of it. And God is the one who sends the fire, and people will be thrown in a fire and they will suffer. Muslims will talk about this little thin bridge you have to walk, hell here and hell here. Jonathan Edwards preaches the famous sermon, "Sinners in the hands of an angry God," that God is about ready to drop you over into the fire pits of hell. He can't bear your face and all this other. Started a religious revival. We've talked in other shows about the 3,000 people died from the 9/11 planes and the terrorists. 1,000 people died in the Mountain Mayon in the Philippines. In a minute, mudslides. 1,000 people are dead just like that. Tsunami. My grandfather died. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I was sure no one else's prayer was going to work. My prayers are going to work. I was 19 years old. He died. We visited a lady in Riverside, California here, been my church member many years ago. Went to a wedding not far from here. On her way home, 11 o'clock at night, with her daughter, one of my youth from years ago, and just someone ran a red light and smashed her. Smashed her. The daughter was bad, but not like that. Was able to go out of the hospital the next day, I think broken leg and a cast. But this lady was smashed. Everything, just brutal. 6-8 months in hospital and rehab. We visited her 2 or 3 times. It's terrible. With tears streaming down her face, with so much pain, she said to me, "I keep asking God, why? Why?" Funeral a few weeks ago of another lady. She fell on a sidewalk, teacher in our school. Hit her head, never the same. Just passed away. Said to me one time, said, "I don't think I was that bad." don't think I was that bad. Did God decide that you have to suffer like this? Too bad. Too bad. Where do we get these pictures of God? I don't know where I got them all. I got them. My father was a pastor. He gave us all these rules. We couldn't listen to the Beatles. I finally said, Dad, what's wrong with this music? And he said, I don't really know, but I just know it's wrong. You're not supposed to do it, and you can't listen to it. I said, Dad, there's got to be a reason. And we've damaged a lot of young people because we gave them rules with no reason. Preacher that I read a lot and listen to a lot over the years has been Bill Hybels in Chicago, Willow Creek. He just retired a while ago. He tells a story in one of his books that he was preaching or teaching really in a classroom of fifth graders, 10 years old. After his little talk, he raised their, how many want to give your life to Jesus? Everybody except one. So he asked the kid, how come you don't want to give your life to Jesus? And the kid said, you haven't told me what he's like yet. And Bill thought, I got 1 minute with this kid. What can I say that would get him to know what Jesus is like? And he comes up with the verse of John chapter 10, verse 10. Probably my favorite verse in the Bible now. Jesus said, thieves come to steal and destroy and take life. I came to give you life and life more abundantly. If that's the only verse you had, if you were in a prison camp and you couldn't have a Bible and it's all you remembered, you would have enough. Thieves come to steal and take life, not God. Jesus says, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. All the lies Satan has told for thousands of years. God said, if you eat of the tree, you will surely die. He says, no, you will not. You don't want to go with God. You don't want his religion. You don't want his church. You don't want all his rules. You don't want any of that. Come with me. I will make you like gods. You go to Las Vegas. There's the lights. This is the life you want to have. You go there for a week. You want it all the time. The lights and the music and the making money and the girls and the beauty and the excitement and drama. This is life. And Jesus says, I don't take life away. If you want real life, it's me. Who's telling the truth? And Jesus says, I am not a thief. I'm not like that. I had a young man come to see me years ago. I was college pastor a few months, preaching about God. A young man came to my office and he said, I like what you're saying about God. So we talked a while and I said, are you ready to commit to him? He said, I'm not sure. I said, what keeps you? He said, I know that if I really become excited about God and become fully committed to God, I'll have to quit going to movies on Friday night. I'll have to quit sleeping with my girlfriend, and I'll have to go to church every week. I said, that's an interesting list. I said, I don't know. I'm not here to tell you what you'll have to do or not have to do. All I know is what Jesus says, I don't take life away from you. I'm not a thief. I came to give you life. So if you think God is a thief, then you have a wrong picture of God. Magic Johnson said, I'm going to do what I have to do when I'm young. Someone asked him, you grew up as a Christian? Yeah, I grew up as a Christian. You have a girl waiting for you? Yeah, there's a girl waiting for me. Why are you living like this? He said, I'm young, I'm rich, this is what I'm going to do. I'll get back to God later when I'm old and had my fun already. But for now, God is going to have to wait. God is a thief. I was in college, scared to death to give my life all the way to God. I was a theology major. I wanted to be a pastor. I believed in God. I wanted to obey God, but scared to death to let God have every part of my life. I was afraid that he wouldn't take sports away. I wasn't the greatest athlete, but I was a good athlete. Afraid he would take that away. I was good at school. I lived for those moments when they would put all the grades up on the wall and the board and give you a little piece of paper with your number, and mine would be one of the top ones. Everybody knew I was one of the best students in the school. I was afraid God would take that away. What would I be anymore? I had a pretty blonde girlfriend, and I was afraid to give that to God. Afraid he would make me marry someone horrible and ugly just to keep me humble. Where do we get these pictures of God? But I grew up with that. Jesus is a thief. And Jesus has to come down out of heaven and say, no, I am not a thief. I am not like that. They took me to go golfing one time in a course in Chicago. It was what they call a U.S. Open course. It was Medina number 3, wonderful course. Never get a chance to play. I got a chance to play. So we ate in the dining room, fantastic. They already took my clubs. So we ate as beautiful, looking over the course, big windows. They came down, we went down to this locker room with big teak wood lockers where the professionals get to use. I put my cheap tennis shoes in there, stuff. We went out and played. We didn't play very well, hard course. We came back after the 4 hours. And went back to change and go into my tennis shoes, and I couldn't find my tennis shoes. I thought, what's wrong with this place? These guys are a bunch of thieves at this place. And I kept looking. I finally found them. Someone had put them in my locker. They had taken them, and they had polished my tennis shoes, my cheap old basketball shoes. Never been polished in history. The people I thought were thieves were really trying to give me something. So I preached on this one time, and someone gave me a story about a farmer in Mexico. He didn't have much money. They went through a drought, and he wrote a letter to God. He said, God, I'm in trouble here. I need a little money to make it to the next crop. I need 100 pesos back in the day. Sent a letter to God. Postmaster gets a letter. What do you do with a letter written to God? So he opens it up, and he hears about the 100 pesos. He doesn't know exactly how this is going to work, if God's going to do this or not. So he thought, well, I'll help God out. So he solicits from the other postal people, and they get 70 pesos. Puts it in an envelope, puts it back in the farmer's box. Farmer comes in, opens it up, 70 pesos. Asks the postmaster for another sheet of paper, one more letter to God. Thank you. Thank you, God, for sending me the 70 pesos, but I still need the 100. Send it again. But don't send it through the post office. They're a bunch of thieves here. They had given him the money, but now he thinks that they're a thief, and they took the 30 out from the 100 God had sent. And that's what God has to live with. He's in heaven, and he's giving all the time. He says, I am not a thief. And we say, Satan says, no, he's a thief. Don't get too close to God. If you get too close to God, you'll hate all his religion. You have to go to church every week. You'll have to give your money. You won't be able to do this or drink that or go here, wear that, eat this. And God is a thief. And Jesus has to come out of heaven and say, I am not a thief. Satan's been lying about God for thousands of years. He said, did not God say you can't eat of this tree? God is a thief. He makes this beautiful tree, and now he cheats you out of it. God is a thief. You don't want to be with God. Come with me. Come my way. And Jesus comes down, and he says, I don't do that. I don't make you poor. I don't make you sick. I don't hurt you. I don't cause the disasters in the world. I don't cause the snowstorms. I don't do that. It's not me. Jeremiah 29, I have plans for you, plans for good and not for evil. You remember the story of the bridge. Man is in charge of the bridge that goes over the river. Once or twice a day, he has to move the bridge so that the trains can come across. Otherwise, it's open for the boats. He goes down there, and he's getting ready to turn the big gears when he's horrified. He sees his son running down the track. He loves that son. They go everywhere together, fishing and surfing and all the rest. He tries to wave, the train is coming, go back, but the wind is coming the wrong way, and he cannot make the boy heard, and he has to find a way to make a decision, the train of strangers or his son. And he goes in, and with tears streaming down his face, they made a little video out of it. He turns the gears, and the bridge turns. The train of strangers has no idea what's going on, rolling by. When the train is gone, he goes back out to the tracks, and the son is gone. He gave his son for the strangers. That's our story. That's at the heart of Christianity. And God says in Romans 8:32, he who did not spare his own son, will he not give you all things? Talked about it a little bit last week. God says, I gave you my son. Doesn't that settle it once and for all? Do I have to dance for you every week? Do I have to prove myself every week, or you give up your faith in me? I am good. I am not a thief. I don't take life away from you. I only give life to you. This is the ultimate decision everyone has to make. What is your picture of God? Is he a thief that takes life away, or is he God who gives life? I was in college when Nixon had to go on television and say, I'm not a crook. Too bad the president of our country has to go on television and say, I'm not a crook. And God of the universe has to come down and say, I don't do that to you. Don't blame me when there's suffering in the world. I am not the one. He is the one. And Jesus, I came to give you life. If you want life, real life, it's me. You will be the first and not the last. You'll be the head and not the tail. You have to decide. What is your picture of the Christian life? Are you being deprived? We were on a mission trip, one of the first mission trips. Small group with me for 3 weeks. At the end of the trip, one of the ladies said to me, Pastor Dan, we've been with you for 3 weeks. We've had a great time. But we feel sorry for you. So, what do you mean you feel sorry for me? You have all these rules you have to follow. You can't eat this, you can't do this, you can't do that. We know you have to worry about the conference and the church headquarters and the elders of the church. But we wish you could be a little more free like us. I said, please don't feel sorry for me. I am absolutely free. I can do whatever I want. I choose this life. No one does this to me. I'm not doing this for my parents. I'm not doing this for the elders of the church. I'm not doing this for the conference headquarters. I choose my life. I don't look at someone who's drinking a beer and say, boy, I sure wish I could have some of that. I don't look at the airplane, look at someone reading a magazine of pornography and say, boy, I wish I could have a little peek at that. I am not deprived. I am not being cheated. I eat good food that I love every single meal every day. I am not cheated, not deprived. I like my life just the way it is. Jesus did not cheat me. If you're afraid that if you give your life to Jesus fully devoted that he will cheat you, no. He is not a thief. You will love your life. Not saying it'll be all perfect. But when you take the life as a whole, you will say, I have no regrets. I can give you a long list of Christians who would say, no regrets. I love my life. I've been all over the world. I have friends all over the world. I'm going to heaven for 1,000 years and eternity after that. I'm going to say farewell to my church here in a few weeks, and we will have hundreds of people that are my life. I had a birthday this week. I had Facebook messages from all over the world, from my whole life of ministry. Don't you feel sorry for me? I invite you to look at your picture of God. Evil and suffering. Do you sometimes think that God is the one who does disasters, makes people sick, trying to teach you lessons, takes people when they die? God knew it was their time. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? God decided in heaven to take that baby away, take your wife away. I don't think so. Be careful. Not a thief. The Sabbath. I grew up in Singapore, going to high school. It's hot. Preached on this the other day. We went to church hot. Singapore, right on the equator. We went witnessing in the afternoon hot. We sat in our dorm rooms, no air conditioning. We were hot. Watched the clock ticking until 6 o'clock sundown. Then we could shower. We have Saturday night fever. So Saturday night was fun. Sabbath was hard. So, no. Where did we get that? Sabbath was supposed to be the best day, supposed to be a delight. Somehow we turned it around. Jesus, I did not take life away when I gave you a Sabbath. I'm giving you life. I'm restoring your soul. You should have no regret. It should be the best day of the week. What is your picture of God? Do you look at other people who don't work for the church? Maybe you work for the church and you say, I could make more money if I could work out there. I could be more free. If I wasn't bound down by this old church, I could really have a great life. Then you bought into Satan's lie that God is a thief. Hear Jesus say, I am not a thief. Young people have all the rules and the laws that are given to them, one after the other. You can't eat this, can't drink that. Kids come to me and they say, Pastor Dan, they won't let us wear caps in the gym when we're playing volleyball. Where did you get that from? What is the reason? They don't know a reason. I said, you have to give a reason. God is a God with reason. But if you're not careful, all you see then is a school taking things away. Therefore, the school is run by the church. Therefore, the church takes things away. The church is for the God. And so their God is a thief, and God takes life away from you. And we've not done very well with this. To have people make the connection between not doing this and life. Jesus is giving you life. If he says, don't do that, he's trying to protect you from some pain, something that will hurt. And if you can't make the connection, then let it go. The only rules we need to have in the church are those things that help give you life. Sat at the restaurant 2 nights ago, a young man said, can I eat pork? Someone had told him, can't eat pork if he joins our church. His wife, Adventist. I said, you eat whatever you want. Those of us that eat carefully because we want to live 10 years more longer than everybody else. And we want to have more energy 3 o'clock when everyone else is wilting. You got energy because you eat and take care of your health. You choose what you want to do. There's not rules of the club that you have to follow. He's not a thief. Can I watch television on Sabbath? I said, you can watch whatever you want. Sabbath is a day for people who want to be with God. You don't care about God. You watch whatever you want. We only have the rules so that you can get stuff out of the way so you can be with God and have life from God. God only gives life. He is not a thief. Had a lady call me downtown Chicago years ago. Mad at God. She says, I'm really mad at God. Really smart girl, getting her doctorate, father, PhD, smart people. She said she had been dating a non-Adventist, non-Christian. And she knew she shouldn't be doing that, so she broke up with them, but really mad at God. She says, I feel like I gave God a beautiful plate, and he took that plate and he smashed it on the ground. I gave him my life, and look what he did with it. I'll probably never get married. I said, my dear friend, I don't know if God took that away from you or not. All I know is, if he did, it was to save you from pain and give you life. I heard later it was okay. Too bad. I was in the youth tent years ago. A bunch of us pastors were in charge of the youth tent. And the new youth director came into our conference, and he was now the speaker. And I'll never forget it. He told a story. He said, I was on the road traveling from one church to another, and I saw a big sign that says, happiness is a Slurpee, 7-Eleven. He said, I wanted some happiness. I was hot and thirsty. So I stopped into the 7-Eleven, and I went in there, and I said, can I have some happiness? Said she had no idea what I was talking about. So I said, I want a Slurpee. They got me the Slurpee. I had to keep going. I had to get to my next appointment. I put the Slurpee between my legs in the car. And I got the car started and started to back up when I saw a big truck pull right behind me. Slammed on the brakes, and my happiness Slurpee fell all over my lap. And he said, I learned a lesson. I believe Jesus. Happiness is Jesus. The Slurpees maybe can come and go. But if you want real happiness, it's going to have to be Jesus. And we all cheered. Great story. But it wasn't very long that we heard that he had gone away with one of the girls from the summer camp. Wrecked his marriage. Evidently, Jesus was not enough. And he went away from Jesus. He bought into the lie that with Jesus you will have a thief, and that if you want really happiness, you're going to have to go away and get something else. He took the lie. Now, I heard later he went back to God. I hope so. And back to his family. Have you bought into the lie that if you go with God, the party will be over, and you'll have to do church, and you'll have to give money, and you'll be deprived, and you can't, and you can't, and you can't. You can't do that on Sabbath, and you can't eat this. If it tastes good, you can't eat it. If it looks good, you can't wear it. If it sounds good, you can't listen to it. And all these rules. And you got music police and life police and food police everywhere. Then you bought into the lie. Hear Jesus say, thieves destroy and take life. I don't take life away. I came to give you life, and life more abundantly. This is God talk, and we talk about God. If I could give you one defining truth, God is life. Jesus says, my words are life. They are eternal life. Anyway, let me tell you a quick story. It's an old, it's a legend probably, a legend from China from 3,000 years ago. There was a family that lived in a house. And in that house, they were 2 stories. And one day, the house burst into flame. The family went running out. The parents went running out, and the older children all went running out. But the little children were still upstairs in their little bedroom playing with their toys. The father yelled at them, "You got to jump, jump, we'll catch you, jump from the house is on fire, and you will die." The little kid said, "We don't see any fire, we're playing with our beautiful toys." The father said, "No, the house is on fire, you have to jump. Don't worry, we'll catch you. We don't want you to die, please jump." "No, we're playing with our toys." Finally, the fire is going to burn them. They don't know what else to do. That father cries out to those little kids. He said, "If you'll jump, Daddy will buy you bigger toys, better toys, more wonderful toys. Just jump." Then the kids jumped. We have talked all over the world about the fire, and we have tried to scare lots of people to God. Talk about how someday there's going to be a fire, and someday there's going to be all this terrible consequences. And some people are moved by that. But is that really the best? When Jesus comes down and he says, "I'm not a thief. If you'll come with me, I will give you life. I will give you life and life more abundantly." And maybe the reason the gospel hasn't gone the way Facebook has gone or Twitter has gone all over the world or other things. And maybe the gospel would go all over the world as good news if we would talk. Our God has bigger toys, better toys, more wonderful toys. He is a great God. He will not cheat you. He will not take life away. He will not cost you in your life. I listened to a guy who said, he wrote a song called "Thank God for Unanswered Prayers." He prayed for God to give him this wonderful girl. But 25 years later, he said, "Thank God for unanswered prayers." He didn't get the girl that he wanted. God gave him something better. God will never cheat you. He will never take life away. He will never move you from first class back to coach. He will always move you up to an upgrade. And Jesus has to come down, and if you have only one verse that you'll remember, he will not take life away. Thieves steal and destroy and take life. He said, "I came to give you life." He is not a thief. God bless you. This is God Talk. We hope that you'll come back and watch this show with us. So find us next week, this same time, where we talk about God.